The Tunguska event, the explosion 1,000 times stronger than Hiroshima, and nobody knows what caused it. Something exploded over Siberia with enough force to flatten 80 million trees across 800 square miles, an explosion later calculated at roughly 1,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. There was no crater. Nobody has ever definitively identified what actually caused it, and the site was so remote that serious scientific investigation didn't even begin until nearly 20 years later. On the morning of June 30th, 1908, a massive explosion occurred over the Podkamenia Tunguska River region of Siberia, an area so remote and sparsely populated that the event initially received minimal formal scientific attention despite its genuinely extraordinary scale, with witnesses located dozens of miles from the actual explosion site reporting a blinding flash of light, an intense wave of heat strong enough to be felt at considerable distance, and a shockwave powerful enough to knock people off their feet and shatter windows in settlements over 30 miles away. The explosion's physical effects on the actual landscape proved genuinely staggering once serious scientific expeditions finally reached the remote site, led initially by Soviet mineralogist Leonid Kulik in 1927, nearly 2 decades after the actual event, whose expedition discovered an enormous area of flattened forest, an estimated 80 million trees knocked down across roughly 800 square miles, with the pattern of destruction radiating outward from a central point in a way that allowed researchers to calculate the explosion had occurred at a specific altitude above the ground, rather than upon direct surface impact, a genuinely significant detail that would prove central to subsequent scientific theories regarding the event's actual cause. What made the Tunguska event genuinely, scientifically puzzling beyond its sheer destructive scale was the specific, notable absence of any impact crater at the explosion's calculated epicenter, a detail that immediately complicated the most straightforward initial hypothesis, that a large meteorite had struck the Earth directly, since a conventional meteorite impact of sufficient size to produce this level of destruction would typically be expected to leave a genuine, identifiable crater at the impact site, evidence that Kulik's expedition and subsequent researchers studying the region specifically searched for extensively without ever locating any conclusive candidate. The scientific explanation that has achieved the broadest, though still not entirely universal consensus among researchers studying the event proposes that the Tunguska explosion resulted from a relatively small asteroid or comet fragment, estimated at somewhere between 60 and 190 meters in diameter depending on the specific composition assumed, entering Earth's atmosphere at extremely high velocity and undergoing a genuine airburst explosion several miles above the ground, the object's own atmospheric entry generating such extreme heat and pressure that it detonated explosively in the air itself before ever reaching the surface, a phenomenon that would fully explain both the massive destructive shockwave and the complete absence of any surface impact crater, since the object itself would have been almost entirely vaporized or fragmented during the airburst rather than surviving intact to strike the ground directly. This airburst asteroid theory, while genuinely broadly accepted as the most scientifically plausible explanation among researchers studying the event today, has never achieved complete universal confirmation, substantially because the extreme remoteness of the impact site and the nearly 2-decade delay before serious scientific investigation began meant that whatever physical evidence, meteorite fragments, specific chemical residue, or other definitive confirming material might have originally existed at the site had already been subjected to decades of environmental exposure, growth of new forest vegetation, and general degradation before researchers could conduct the kind of careful, systematic physical investigation that might have definitively confirmed the specific composition and nature of the object responsible. Subsequent scientific expeditions to the region throughout the 20th century did recover small quantities of material at the site that some researchers have proposed represent genuine meteoritic fragments consistent with the airburst asteroid theory. though these specific findings have remained subject to ongoing scientific debate regarding whether the recovered material genuinely originates from the actual object responsible for the 1908 explosion, or whether it instead represents unrelated meteoritic material that happened to be present in the region independently of the actual Tunguska event itself. A genuinely persistent evidentiary uncertainty that has prevented complete scientific closure on the question even after more than a century of subsequent investigation. Alternative theories proposed over the decades since, while generally receiving considerably less mainstream scientific support than the airburst asteroid explanation, have included proposals involving a small comet composed substantially of ice rather than solid rock, which would similarly explain the absence of a surface crater given ice's tendency to vaporize even more completely than rock during atmospheric entry, along with a range of more speculative, considerably less scientifically supported theories that have periodically attracted popular attention despite lacking the kind of credible supporting evidence the broader scientific community generally requires for serious consideration. The Tunguska event's genuine historical and scientific significance extends well beyond simply explaining one remote Siberian explosion, since the event has become a genuinely significant reference point within modern planetary defense research, specifically studying the actual risk asteroid and comet impacts posed to Earth, with researchers and space agencies studying potential future asteroid impact scenarios frequently citing Tunguska as a documented real-world example of the kind of destructive potential even a relatively modest-sized celestial object can produce should it enter Earth's atmosphere at the wrong trajectory and location, a consideration that has directly influenced serious ongoing research into asteroid detection and potential deflection technology specifically intended to prevent a future, considerably more populated region from experiencing a comparable event. What makes the Tunguska event endure as one of history's most significant unresolved natural phenomena isn't simply the staggering scale of destruction across such a remote, fortunately sparsely populated region, though that specific combination of scale and fortunate remoteness remains genuinely notable, but the specific, sustained scientific uncertainty that has persisted for well over a century regarding the exact composition and nature of whatever object actually caused it. A genuinely rare example of a documented, scientifically studied event of this magnitude that has still never achieved complete, universally accepted physical confirmation of its actual underlying cause. If stories like this, where an explosion powerful enough to flatten an area the size of a major city still hasn't had its exact cause definitively confirmed after more than a century of investigation, are exactly what you come here for. Subscribe to The Grave Details, because history holds more stories like this than most people will ever know.